live, Michael. How are you today?
I am awesome. How are you doing, Martin?
Doing great, doing great. It's amazing to be back live talking about tech. So many
Is
great
today the is
topics.
today the first? No, we did live on Friday, didn't we?
Yeah, we did live on Friday, yeah, but then the weekend and then put in 2 days, Michael. We had to wait to be live again. It's too long. It's too long.
I feel lonely when I'm not live. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. We get to be live every
I feel
day.
like I'm missing something. Shouldn't we just stream like 24 hours a day?
Oh, maybe some guys would do it. Maybe some people would do that. I
Like,
think I think we are crazy enough that at some point we may do that.
we may just sit at the desk and just stream all day,
Talking about tech.
talking about AI and stuff like that. Can't
Yes,
hurt. No one's gonna get hurt if we do
for sure
that.
not.
Well, let's welcome everybody to AGTP Daily, Martin. We go live every weekday, unless we're on the road, but we still do stuff when we're on the road. And I was going to spend a lot of time actually talking on the other show that we do on ATP Insights about Super AI, but there just wasn't enough time. But anyway, we're back from Super AI. We go live every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern time in the United States of America. We want to talk about the most important stuff that's going on there. Today's Monday, Martin, the 15th of June, 2026. Let's get right into it.
Yep.
Anthropic, and I have a take on this. We'll get to my take, and we'll also talk about like some of the stuff that we're doing on the agentic side as well. But Mythos and Fable 5, we're told to shut down.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll get into some details on that. And interestingly enough, and there's been some stories about this literally like since the beginning of the year, but it's just starting to get some traction now. AMD is taking aim at Nvidia's AI desktop stuff. And I think that is going to be super interesting as well.
That's good for us.
Well, it's great for us, actually, because the stuff that AMD is coming out with,
Really good for us.
it's going to be interesting. Okay, let's talk about Anthropic Mythos and Fable 5 release has been rescinded. The U.S. government, Martin, I don't know if you've heard of those guys.
No idea.
No idea what's going on there.
In the last 6 months or last year, there were not so much in the news.
Nah,
Right? There's
not a lot
so
of
much
activity
things
there.
going on.
It's pretty quiet.
Very quiet. I wonder like why these guys are doing all day really.
Don't know what they're doing every day. Never hear from them.
Never.
It's quiet at the White House when they're not knocking it down. Anyway, so apparently the U.S. government has ordered Anthropic to suspend access to its Fable 5. We talked about Fable 5 and Mythos models for all foreign nationals. But not just foreign nationals outside of the country.
In the country as well, right?
In the country as well, and inside of Anthropic.
This is crazy.
Which I think is a little bit insane. And Anthropic says that the real result of this was just like, okay, there's no way to actually do that. Like, there's no way. With all the ways that people can access this model, they just shut it down.
Wow.
Yeah, just shut it down.
Yeah.
Which is weird. So the government said, and the reason why, although they were being kind of opaque about this, the government said that there was national security, but they didn't really provide any written evidence for this specific risk, like what the real risk was. Anthropic is coming out and saying, and you know the way like Anthropic's communication ability, slightly better than OpenAI's, but like still I feel like, you know what I mean? There's a guy in a dark room somewhere with headphones. Like I just don't think they're great at this. They say that the concern appears to be tied to a method for bypassing the guardrails. Is that what they're calling it? Remember?
Yes.
They were like, okay, we'll release this thing.
Some jailbreak, right? Like to actually access Mythos and Fable.
Well, yeah, but let's be clear about this. Remember, when they released the model and they were like, if you kind of hit on these subjects, what is it? Backs up to 4.8?
Yeah, Opus 4.8, yeah.
It goes right back to Opus 4.8.
Yeah.
But apparently somebody figured out a way to jailbreak this. And this isn't Fable 5, right? But Anthropic like tested this jailbreak and they're like, come on. Apparently that's what their answer was. Come on, everybody knows how to do that thing. And we knew that before we released it. And you knew that before we released it too.
Okay.
So if Anthropic were Michael, they'd be like, what are we doing? Which I feel like is my new catchphrase. But, you know, Mythos itself has been described by Anthropic. Part of it has been built to find these vulnerabilities and to support like some advanced security testing, or we talked about this, the cybersecurity stuff, right? So it's like, but everybody knew that. And we talked about this when Dario Amodei first said like you can't use the model because it's way too dangerous, whatever that means. And the UK AI Security Institute said that it showed a major jump in its cyber capability. But just to go back to this, the thing that was interesting about that too is it also included some autonomous multi-stage attacks in controlled environments. That's, again,
Okay.
it's like what happens in a controlled environment and what happens in the real environment are always going to be different things. Yeah.
Of course, always.
But they said that there was a 73% success rate on some sort of some kind of test that they do for cybersecurity.
Okay.
Anyway, and we know that Anthropic was out there trying to control access to this, particularly through Glasswing.
Yep.
Right. You remember, like, they originally had, like, they expanded the access. I think originally it was like to 11 or 12 companies. And, the Japanese were like knocking on the door and they were like bowing and stuff and said, can we please get in as well? I can say that.
Bowing and stuff.
Bowing.
Bowing. I imagine
Bowing.
the Japanese. Just asking to be in.
Yoroshiku onegai itashimasu. That kind of thing. Lots of bowing, lots of politeness, just trying to get on the list. And, the idea for Glasswing was they wanted to find this stuff and fix some of the software flaws before some of these cyber guys, before some of these cyber hackers could actually exploit it.
Yeah.
But this is the first time that these frontier models are actually being treated like strategic assets.
So is it the second time, like the Nvidia chip export to China?
So sorry, that's what I said. So like the frontier AI models are being treated like this. This is the first time that it's not hardware, that it's actually software.
Yes. Okay, first time ever. That never happened before.
Nah. So in the old days, it was reversed. So like some companies kind of blocked Google because they gave them parameters like, okay, you can do search inside of China, but you have to restrict this thing and that thing and this thing and the other thing. And Larry Page and Sergey Brin were like, yeah, that's not the way we work.
Okay.
So they literally shut down Google in China at some point.
Same for Russia. There's a different ecosystem of apps.
Well, Yandex and all that, like the whole search thing in Russia is just completely Russian, which is perfectly fine. But like the idea is, the U.S. government has never restricted software distribution to any other country in the world for national security reasons. And I feel like, here's my hot take. I have two hot takes. I'm curious what you think about it. And we can get to some of the other we can dig a little bit deeper in a second, but there's a lot to talk about here. So my first hot take is this, is that, as we said, this government is very quiet. They're just kind of relaxed and not really doing much. Apparently there was a UFC fight on the White House grounds. Nobody really talked about it. It was a small thing. Nobody really cared.
They were not noisy at all, right? Like
no. They didn't build anything. There wasn't like there was this big claw thing or lights or this nothing. They just like put a tarp down. A couple of guys had a fight and that was it. Everybody went home. It wasn't even on the president's birthday. Like it had nothing to do with that at all. But in that context, one of the things that the government had asked Anthropic to do was to allow them to use this for some of their military stuff.
Yes.
And Anthropic said no.
That was like the Pentagon deal that basically Anthropic said no to, right? Back in February, I think?
Something like that, yeah. It was in the first quarter of the year. So it could have been February, could have been March. I don't remember exactly, but yeah.
Yeah, and basically the Pentagon said, hey, we want to use Anthropic's model for our military, and there were two things that Anthropic didn't want to do. The first one, if I remember correctly, was autonomous weapons, right?
Yes, they didn't want the drones to have access to, because a drone is by definition an autonomous weapon. So they didn't want them to have access to that for the drones, because they just felt like, who's responsible kind of thing.
And the second thing was mass surveillance of the US population, right? Like Anthropic was against these two things that were not like explicitly said, but not like forbidden.
The government was like, no, we promise we're not going to do this. And they're kind of winking at them like, yeah, don't worry about it kind of thing. It's not like Palantir is not already doing massive surveillance of the US population, but yeah, Anthropic just didn't want to be involved in that, which is fine.
Yes.
So that's my first hot take, is that this is a little bit of retribution
for the Pentagon.
So they're just like, okay, you want to release your fanciest, your most powerful model?
Okay.
Let's let it go out, and then let's have the Commerce Department come out and go like, oh, this is a national security risk.
Okay.
You guys can't do it. Now, interestingly enough, OpenAI's 5.5 model is supposed to be kind of on par with Mythos, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But no one said a word about rescinding their ability to release that model.
No, nobody.
Because OpenAI was on board with, you want to surveil everybody? We're not really bothered actually that much. And can we have another pizza?
And they have one at the end of the day who got the Pentagon deal, right? Like it
They
was
signed a
normally
deal with the
for
Pentagon, and they were
for
just like, "You
yeah,
do you want to do like autonomous stuff? We don't really care."
exactly. They were like,
So,
fine for everything.
so that's my first hot take, is that it's a little bit of retribution.
Okay, okay.
But my second hot take is even hotter.
Tell me.
Dario Amodei loves this.
Okay, okay. Keep going.
So why would he love this?
Keep
Well,
going.
now this is proof positive that he was not lying or making it up, that this model is just way too dangerous. Right. So remember we talked about the little boy who cried wolf?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
So
Yes,
maybe
yes.
he's not crying wolf. Maybe that's the point. The government's like, you're right. This model's way too dangerous. And I'm pretty sure that Dario Amodei went downstairs into his like third level basement with his sister, and they were high-fiving each other like, our model's way too dangerous. This is going to want people want this model even more. No one's complaining about OpenAI's model, but our model has been rescinded and restricted, and nobody outside the country, no foreigners can actually see it. Even the foreigners that work in our company, the guys and the gals that wrote it.
Yeah. Yes. 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 Yes.
So what do you think about that part of the
So,
hot? What do you think about either one of my hot
I
takes?
have a third hot take, but it's
You have a
really
hotter
close to
take.
and it's close to your second. That's the same idea. That's the same idea.
Go ahead.
I can't get out of my mind that this is just a marketing stunt
That's my
from
point.
Anthropic. Like really, and I don't know. The
But
entire thing to me
so
makes no sense, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah, because
Yeah.
Anthropic could have. You're right, because Anthropic could have just said like, okay, we'll fix it, but they're like, yeah, we're not fixing it.
No, but plus also like I think to me like the entire timeline of how things happened to me once again makes no sense. First of all, they say, hey, we launched this project Glasswind that is like so important, right? That they presented Project Glasswind as something very unique, very selective, just for a handful of companies, blah 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 blah. It was so
Right.
well marketed that even like companies like I don't remember the name. Was it Cloudflare or Shopify maybe? Like they lost like 5 or 10% of market value on the stock market on the day of the announcement of Glasswind because they were not included
They were not included. Yeah, that's funny. I
into the
forget who it
program.
was, but yeah.
It was like one of the largest tech company. And so you're like, okay, it's really big, this thing, right? And so it's so important, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Like up until then, fine. But then, like what, 2 months after, they change absolutely nothing. And they say, okay, now we're just going to release it to the public. Like, and plus, like, they just do it like so quick, right? Like they don't say, hey, we're gonna release it a little bit next week, then to more people next week, or they didn't say we're going to release it next month. We're gonna do a beta preview. There's ton of stuff that you can do, you know, to ramp it up. I would say, right? Like what Anthropic did was like it's available tomorrow. No, actually, no. That was not what they did. What they did was there is a leak that maybe Anthropic may release it tomorrow. That's how it started, Michael.
Right,
And
right,
that
right.
was
Maybe.
exactly. They were leaked, right? And then the day after the leak, boom, and Anthropic says, "Hey, we just released
Right, right.
Fable, that's like Mythos, blah 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 blah," right? And so that's what to me like the timing of the announcement, the timing of the launch was so precipitated, right? It was so fast, right? Like, and I don't know. Once again, when you want to do something big like this, if you have a great product, like look like how Apple launched their new product. It's grants, right? Like there is like an event and there is a big marketing campaign and there is like ton of stuff, right? Like
Billboards and stuff like that. Yeah.
billboards and like influencers and all of this thing, right? And that's pretty much the same when Anthropic or OpenAI they launch a new model that is so good that when they launch Opus or when they launch something like this, like you know, it's here to stay, right? Like they really do something real because
yeah.
it's big and it's here to stay. Here there was absolutely nothing. They just said,
Nothing.
okay, there is a leak, maybe tomorrow Anthropic is going to release Mythos, boom, it gets released. And then when the announcement was made, remember I was scrolling through X and I was like, nobody says something concrete. Like everybody was saying it's better, it feels better, it got better, blah 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 blah. But there was nothing really concrete. Like nothing like, okay, now we can do that, or before we couldn't do this and now we can do that, you know, like there was nothing like substantial, I would say, right?
Yeah.
Where when you look at the model, like the model family of Entropy, you have I2, Sonnet and Opus, they are very different, and it's really clear for what use case you are going to use them. And then you add Fable in the mix, no idea what's the use case, really. Like, because basically they say we remove the cybersecurity threat features. So it's what, a better opus? Like, it was not clear at all, right? Like, from the announcement. So that's why, like, to me, it looks really rushed, right? Like, no real communication.
But also, if you think about this even more deeply, right, than I originally had, couldn't they? Because what they did was they left all this functionality in, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they just like
yeah.
commented it out, or who knows what they're doing in the on the software
Yes.
side, right?
Yes.
And somebody found a way to jailbreak it, so it was still in the software. Why wouldn't they just like, do you know what I mean? Use excuse me, Fable 5,
Yeah.
and just tell Fable 5, hey, you know what? Take all that other stuff out of there. The stuff that we're protecting with the guardrails, never mind. Just like take it out and make the software run, you know, as effectively and efficiently as possible, just without that stuff included. So even if they jailbreak it, there was nothing there to jailbreak. Do you know what I mean?
But then I think then if you do that, then it just become Opus 4.9, right? And so that's why, like, I think, like, to me, it's really weird. Like, why they did that instead of doing Opus 4.9, right? Like Opus 4.8 was released, what, 2 or 3 weeks ago? So it's a really recent model as well.
It was a recent.
Like, we had like the entire weird stuff with Opus 4.6, and then Opus 4.6 become bad, so they fix it with Opus 4.7, and then they release Opus 4.8 for some reason. And then boom, Fable arrived, no idea what it's doing. And it's not clear.
4.8 was officially released on May 28th, Martin.
Okay, so that's like 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, what are we doing?
And so that's why, like, why is it not Opus 4.9? What's the difference between Opus 5, let's say, and Fable 5, right? Like, to me, it was not clear at all. And as a client, as a user, I was like, I don't know, right? Like, what do we do? And I think I'm pretty technical. So if you explain to me like how to use Fable for which type of use cases, I may be able to understand. All right, but here, no idea. No one explained to me. There were no clear communication on Fable is good at this thing.
I mean, you were telling me over the weekend you did a stand-up meeting with the entire Undercover Media IT team.
Yes. We did a big meeting because time was
of the essence. Time was very important. Time was of the essence here. And you just did a stand-up meeting with the entire Undercover Media IT team. And all the questions you got were like, why is this happening?
Yeah, exactly. There were no really use case. I mean, no real breakthrough use case that justify having a new model, right? Like, once again, iCrew, Sony, Opus, very different models. GPT 5.4, GPT 5.5, GPT 5.4 mini, very different models, and you can really see clearly what are the use cases for each. Here, Fable, no idea. So that's why, first, for the launch part, I was like, okay, this is weird that we don't understand as users what is it for. And then 2 days after, it did banned. So then I was like, really? Like, really? Like, to me, it looks, I mean, I don't know, like, I don't want to be negative, and I just want to be, like, like, positive, because that's a great thing that we have better models.
Yeah.
But to me, I really start having difficulties to trust the entire AI narrative, right? Like, first of all of these things about it's too dangerous to release, then they do Project Last Win, then they release the model, we don't understand why, then it get banned. For sure, the big winner out of it is Anthropic, right? Like, because at the end of the day, their model is so dangerous that they can't release it to the public. And now, as you say, they have a third party, which we talked a lot about it last week, right? Like, the necessity to have a third party vet and give an opinion, right? Because once again, if you say all the time, I am the best, I am the best,
they said they wanted that to happen, but they haven't done that yet.
Yes, but look at the timeline here as well. OpenAI says we want this to happen.
We talked about it, right? When they published that article, when both of them published that article, we're like, this seems a little fishy, right?
Yeah, so OpenAI first, that's important here. Then Anthropic second, a day or two after, super fast, right? And then 2 days after, Anthropic goes big. They release a model and they ban it. So it doesn't only prove the point that a third party is necessary, and also it proves the point that their model are too dangerous. As I love to say, they killed 2 birds with 1 stone, right? It's so good, right?
You nailed it, by the way.
Thank you very much. I don't know, like to me, this timeline makes so much sense. If you want to look big, if you want first of all to tell people that your model are so good, that's perfect. And second of all, if you want to take the lead around, we need an agency to be able, like a third party agency,
To
to
be able
be
to
able to
determine
monitor
whether these
AI.
things are actually good or
Now
not.
they
Yeah.
are in the lead, right? Because now they are the poor company that got their AI banned, and so now they need to speak to the agency to actually get it unbanned and get it ready for production and blah blah blah. So now they are in the perfect spot to actually make this happen with the US government. I don't know. To me, it's like if I wanted to do it purposefully, I would do it exactly like this.
But what do you think the impact is on their IPO? And also, there's this other
So
question about OpenAI's IPO as well, right? And that's why I feel like there's a little bit of shenaniganery going on here.
for sure.
Sorry, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
No. I think you nailed it last week when you were like they want to cash out. Like I think right
Yeah,
now,
I
if
think
you
as
want
fast as possible, right?
as fast as possible. Like if
Yeah,
you can
I think so.
IPO tomorrow and you're
They would do it.
Anthropic, you can do it. Like there were a lot of people who were talking about, like maybe the SpaceX IPO is going to cannibalize all the fund, but at the end of the day, they only raised 85 million and they were oversubscribed by crazy, right?
Yeah, so they raised 75 billion. They were oversubscribed by
75
4
billion.
times, but still.
So, which means invested a lot of money available to actually be able to IPO and to cash out, right? So,
Yeah.
that's my feeling. And I mean, if Anthropic and or OpenAI IPO really soon, I think, Michael, I think our analysis would be right. Like, I don't
No, I
see,
think it's 100% right. And also
yeah,
think about this from an IPO perspective.
it's perfect.
The revenue growth, so the revenue growth at SpaceX XAI,
Yeah,
all components combined, their revenue growth does not look like the revenue growth of Anthropic, right?
no, it's nowhere close. It's nowhere close.
So, and Anthropic their last raise was at basically $1 trillion.
Yeah, sorry, 1 trillion, yeah, 965, something like that, yeah.
Whatever. I mean, it's a rounding error, right? At that point, like it's weird that $35 billion is a rounding error, and that even I would say that feels like weird for me, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And we know that, excuse me, that I'm looking at this trading right now of SpaceX.
Okay.
It IPO'd at 135.
Yeah.
It's now up 7.45% today.
Okay.
So it's trading now 172.94.
Oh wow.
But we talked about this, Martin, when we did our whole episode, or when we did our whole segment on it. It's likely to, because some people probably shorted it. It's probably likely to be like a little bit higher, and some people probably missed in the IPO. Because we said before that like retail investors only got 20% of their allocation.
Yeah.
And that probably means that some of the bigger houses some of the bigger institutions that wanted to buy it also probably only got 20% or 30% or whatever their allocation.
Yes.
Which means they want more.
Yeah.
And everybody's anticipating it going into the index in 10 days. So there's going to be some natural buying. The real question for me is in the stock price is what's going to happen 10 days out. But more importantly is what does it mean for the other IPOs that we're talking about?
Yeah,
right. So, because everybody that wanted to invest in this, the faster growth, particularly from an AI perspective, is definitely an Anthropic.
Yeah, so the fastest growth in terms of revenue is definitely Anthropic. But if I have to put my money somewhere, it's in space. It is in space XAI. If I have to pick one of the three, because they are an infrastructure provider. It's way less riskier. I don't like risk. I don't like risk, but I would rather build a data center than build an AI model as of now. I think
as of today, for sure.
As of today, I would build the data centers rather than building an AI model. Like I think with everything we see right now in the world, the lead of Anthropic and OpenAI on the frontier model is threatened, right? And I think threatened is an understatement, right? It's really an understatement.
One of the big questions that I asked people at Super AI and that I asked people today in the AI space was, are you worried about token costs? And there was like a 50-50 response. The response that I was getting was like, well, kind of.
Yeah.
And one of the people actually said, you know what, I'm not worried about it at all. And frankly, I think I should use as many tokens as I possibly can. And I say this to my customers as well, to find out what it would cost me to actually do the things that I want to do. And then I can dial it back. So I can get back to a rational number. But until I know what that number is, Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how many. It's almost like that hot dog eating contest at Coney Island. It's like, can I eat 75 hot dogs in 2 minutes? I don't know. I don't want to, but maybe I can. And if I can, then like
Yeah.
for a regular sitting, I'll just have two. Do you know what I mean? So I'll just dial it back. Um, but I don't agree with that per se. But there is some sense that, like, when I ask people, what should you do from a tokenization standpoint, everyone's away from token maxing. But one of the questions I asked them is, shouldn't you be using an open source model instead? And I think it's like 50-50, maybe less, maybe it's like 60-40, where people are just like, yeah, but we want to use the best models possible.
Yeah.
And we're not so concerned with the cost of tokens because we think over time that those prices are going to come down, and we want to use them as much as we can so we can get experience with them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that today Anthropic and OpenAI have is that their model are better. That's the only thing, right? But like they are significantly better, which means like Opus 4.6 that were able to code by itself, which is perfect, which is what we want, is not yet caught up by Minimax or by Queen or by all of this, right? So like we can't yet code realistically with an open source model, and also we cannot install them without spending way too much money, right? But that's the only thing they have. Like once again, why I say threatened is because there's a lot of people who put a lot of money into fixing this problem, right? And it's a much easier problem to solve than creating new GPUs or creating big data centers in the US.
Sure.
This is a much easier problem to solve, right? So that's why like I see way more competition on the model side.
But like, what is stopping? We talked about this a little bit, but can we just readdress this?
Yeah.
And maybe people in the chat can actually tell us what they think.
Yeah.
Couldn't you just like subscribe to Opus 4.8 or to ChatGPT 5.5 and have it face the Quen model or the Kimi model or whatever model you want, to just go, hey, make this look more like OpenAI? Do you know what I mean?
So I think two things here. First of all, if you want to GPT to actually face Queen, you need to install Queen, and that's a problem. First of all, because you need like a crazy big
No, I'm talking
computer
about Quen
as of now.
itself.
So
In other words,
but then it
if
would
the
be
models are better in the US, why not just take the better
Ah,
model and just have the Quen team go, okay, make this model, make our model look just like, you know what I mean? Like, how hard can
yeah.
that be?
I have no idea. I think this is linked to model training, right? And I have no idea. Like this is something that we have never tried. But yeah, maybe we can try, Michael. Maybe we can try
Let's
this
try.
week.
What are you doing this weekend?
Exactly, absolutely nothing. I was planning to go to the beach, but model training is way more exciting. So
Yeah.
let's do
I was
that
going to work on
instead.
my tan. Not.
But yeah, but no, but like I think if Anthropic and or OpenAI IPO really soon, I think your theory about cashing out would be super right. Which
I agree.
means if they want to cash out now, which means that they think they are at the peak of their value, right? And it's not gonna last long, like a lot more time. So which means they have a window to IPO right now before their value either goes down or stabilize greatly, I would say. But I would say that it's very likely that it's gonna go down just because of the competition, right? Like Queen just raised $7 billion. They did something amazing. No, it's DeepSeek. Yeah, sorry, DeepSeek raised $7 billion, and they did something amazing 2 years ago with $10 million, right? So now they have way more money.
So what are they going to do with $7 billion?
Exactly. There is no more Nvidia chips in China, so which means Chinese is also building their own chips. So which means in a couple of months or years, it's going to be insane from there as well. I think they see as well, the same way we do, that the competition is just getting organized, right? And that was not the case before. And now the competition is global, it's getting organized, it's getting a lot of money. Now also the clients are spending a lot of money, so which makes the market much bigger, which makes the player in the market able to invest much more money, right? Like maybe 3 years ago when you wanted to build something, people, when investors were like, yeah, we don't really know if people are going to use AI or how much they are going to use AI. But right now it's proven, thanks to Anthropic and OpenAI, that there is a huge market, right? Like maybe combine them at what, $100 billion per year as of now, Anthropic plus OpenAI and plus all the others, let's say.
Yeah.
Let's say as of now they make $100 billion. This is like new money, right? That comes from Salesforce, Facebook, Nvidia, us, right? Like plenty of companies who are buying a new service we were not buying
Yeah.
3 years ago, right? So that's
I mean,
one new
let's
market.
be fair. Our capex is just a little bit lower than Meta's, so like we're not in the same category exactly. But I want to make this point too, Martin. Right?
Yeah.
This is hard for people that are not in the financial services business to understand.
Okay. Tell me.
A $65 billion Series H was done in May, and a $30 billion Series G was done in February 2026 for Anthropic. Right? So they raised $95 billion. The last round, you said, was a valuation of $965 billion. Now, remember that the previous round, which they did, the $30 billion raise, I think was a $352 billion valuation, right? Which is much lower. So theoretically, the guys that invested in the Series G have already, let's see, 350 to 9. It's like 2.5 times their money.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Theoretically, right? Because
Yeah.
there was probably some rule or some kind of provision that said that they couldn't sell into the Series H.
So okay.
But
Keep
go ahead.
going.
Did you have a question? Because I can answer your question. I think I
No,
know what it is.
it's more like, yeah. So let's speculate on the IPO price of Anthropic.
So this is the point.
Yeah.
So it's more, let's say this in reverse. So instead of speculating on what the IPO price is going to be,
Yeah.
let's speculate on the amount of pressure under which Anthropic is now operating.
Wow.
Because the guys that invested in Series G are like, don't muck with my 2.5 times. Because again, if you're Temasek, right? If you're GIC and you've invested $10 billion of that 30 billion, or if you're a big institutional investor and now your 10 billion is worth $25 billion approximately, right? You don't want Anthropic to do anything to muck that up. You don't care if they IPO at $1 trillion because you'll made a lot of money. But the guys now that invested $65 billion in the Series H in May at a $65 billion valuation, like, no. We need higher valuation than that.
Higher, for sure.
But now there's a tension, right? Because the guys that invested in February, like, we don't care. And everybody that invested before them is happy with a $1 trillion valuation, right? Because everybody else has made a killing. They made a ton of money. But the most recent investors, which is the largest round, are now probably putting a ton of pressure on Dario Amodei and the senior leadership of Anthropic. I know this based on my experience with other IPOs.
Makes ton of sense, yeah.
Because this is literally those investments, like they call them like pre-IPO rounds.
Yeah.
Because the understanding is if SpaceX can list at $1.75 trillion, it's not doubling your money between 965 and let's say 1.5 trillion, but it's like 75% higher.
Yeah, it's close enough.
And what's 75% of $65 billion is 40-something billion dollars, which is a ton of money to make for like a 3-week investment kind of thing, depending on when the IPO goes, or a 3-month investment, right?
I mean, it makes a ton of sense to watch the IPO.
That's why they're under a ton of pressure. Yeah. So this is why Anthropic must be like, they must be scurrying around trying to figure out how do we save the valuation?
Yeah. What's the price? Right?
Not what is it going to be, but how do we at least keep it around here or higher?
So around here, what do you mean around here? 1.7 or 1 trillion?
$1 trillion. It has to be over $1 trillion, right?
Over $1 trillion. Yep, it has to be.
Because otherwise, the guys that put in $65 billion with a $965 billion valuation are going to be like, why did we even, like, the transaction costs are too expensive.
Yes. Yeah. Right?
So what are we even doing?
So it's either the IPO right now, which means they have no more ideas, or they have another idea up their sleeves to actually get the valuation even higher, right? But I mean that now the timeline, as you explain it, makes so much sense. I mean,
it does, right?
If the IPO tomorrow at 1.5, we would be like, of course, right? Zero surprise, right? It would make a ton of sense.
But in a way, Martin, here's one of the other risks, if you don't mind me saying.
Tell me.
Again, from a timeline perspective, So again, I was looking at the stock price for SpaceX.
Mhm.
I don't think it's changed that much since we started talking. It's actually even higher. It's 8% higher today.
Okay.
But again, this is just like day 2 or day 3 of trading, right? Actually, day 2 because Friday was the first
Yeah.
day it traded. It priced on Thursday.
Yeah.
It's bouncing around the 173 level, almost 174. But let's say that the IPOs for OpenAI and Anthropic are 3 months out from now.
Okay.
It's going to be deeply influenced by where SpaceX stock price is.
So that's why we need to IPO tomorrow. Not
That's
in
my
3 months.
point, though, right? In
Yeah.
other words,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
about the amount of pressure that's on
Yes.
on senior management and sort of the CFO, right? Because the CFO
Yeah.
is going to be the one that's going to manage the IPO because it's a finance related thing.
Yeah.
Those teams are going to be under a ton of pressure right now. Where do you think it's going to go? What is the roadshow going to look like?
Yeah.
Where are we going to price? Why are we pricing so low? And remember, the last round that where OpenAI raised was also 900 and something billion dollars. I think it was 950 billion dollars.
Yes.
So their IPO also has to be, again, to make everybody happy and to keep everybody whole, it has to be $1 trillion or more.
Yeah.
What happens, Martin, if we're a month out from today or 6 weeks out from today, and all the sort of latent buying for SpaceX is over? And I've seen people make cases. I think I said this to you on Friday, but I've seen people make cases that like actually SpaceX is a $30 trillion company because of a bunch of ridiculous metrics that I saw. Like you're underpricing the fact that there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that can get done in space,
Yes.
and the only reusable rockets are SpaceX rockets. So like you're going to be able to make, human like livers and hearts and lungs and stuff like that in a place where like it's just easier to make them. And I'm like, do we know that for a fact? Well, I don't know. I cannot corroborate that story. I don't know if that's true or not. But the idea is that the manufacturing in space is going to just be so transformational. And because SpaceX is the only company in the world that has reusable rockets or knows how to make them at scale, that this is going to be, he said in 5 years, this could be a $30 trillion company. But the point is that over the next 6 months, if it goes down to 135 or if it trades below the offering price, it's just a bad harbinger for Anthropic and for OpenAI. Because if they're pricing, like let's say they're pricing into this thing where it's up almost 13% today, and whatever 35 over 173 is, $38 higher, right?
So my feeling on that is that from my position, okay, of like big AI expert globally,
One of the
I
most renowned experts in artificial intelligence with
exactly,
I hope people understand sarcasm. Anyway,
exactly.
I hope.
I would never ever if I just have to pick a price, okay, like if I just like I don't like I'm just like okay, let's just pick a price and that's all up to me. I would never put Anthropic anywhere close to SpaceX. I would put them way lower because once again, first of all,
Well, they're
infrastructure.
infrastructure poor, right?
They are
In other words, they're
infrastructure.
desperate for
Exactly.
infrastructure. It's not even like OpenAI that actually was
Yes.
building their own infrastructure.
Yes.
Anthropic's infrastructure poor.
Exactly. It's all about infrastructure to me. And it's all about plan B as well, right? In case the model doesn't work, tomorrow SpaceX AI, they can do something else, they can sell their data center, they can rent their data center, they can do a ton of stuff, right? Like if they build the infrastructure, there's always something you can do with it, right? But so that's the first part. And the second part is there is just so much competition right now against Anthropic, and we have no idea who's gonna win in 2 years. Like really, like
No,
right now,
no
as a
idea.
client, as a user of AI, I know for a fact that my usage of AI is going to dramatically change in the next 2 years. I know because so many things can happen, right? It's
Do you think,
either
but
yeah.
fundamentally, do you think it's going to increase or decrease?
And also, I think we're gonna use way more AI, but the way that we use AI may be
Right.
completely different. The
Yeah, yeah.
only possibility that we use AI the exact same way is if everybody fails, which means AI on device fail, open source model fails, the hardware doesn't catch up, fail. Like if everyone fail, which means AMD, Apple, DeepSeek, all the Chinese guys, is everyone
Meta.
fail,
Yeah.
nothing change. Okay, but if just one guy successfully managed to do something, our usage of AI is going to dramatically change, right? So that's why, like, from my point of view, there's way too much uncertainty on how we are going to use AI in the next 6, 12, 24 months, right? We just have no idea. So I can't see a world where we can be like, for sure, Anthropic is going to 10x in the next 10 years. This is absolutely not. There is, I think there's way more chances that Anthropic goes to zero than it 10x. There's way more chances, because if Anthropic goes to zero, that's fine. We have OpenAI, we have plenty of other solutions.
Yeah.
But if it 10x, it means once again that everything else need to fail, right? And
Right.
this is way more unlikely. So way more likely, sorry, way less likely that everybody else fails. So that's why, like, if I had to take a bet, if I had to put the price, I would put Anthropic way lower than SpaceX, way
But
lower.
then what does that mean for OpenAI? This is
So
the
yeah,
big
so
problem, right, Martin?
OpenAI
So I think
is an interesting place.
well,
Yeah.
because it's a hybrid, right? Because
Yes.
they're not as infrastructure poor, but they're not
Yeah.
as infrastructure as Anthropic, but they're
Yeah.
not as infrastructure rich as
SpaceX AI or
SpaceX.
AWS or these
Yeah.
guys, right?
Oh,
So
in comparison, AWS is winning for sure
yes, oh, for
because they have
sure,
way more capacity
for
on the
sure.
infrastructure side, right?
For sure, for sure. So yeah, so OpenAI is in an interesting space because first of all, they don't have the same problem as Anthropic, but they don't have the same assets as the hyperscalers. But
Mm-mm.
also, they didn't do a campaign since 3 months of like our models are too dangerous to be released, right?
Right.
Like I see that part of the
And
IPO roadshow.
and and say that again. Do you see what?
I see that campaign about Mythos and Fable part of the IPO roadshow. This has started three
Exactly.
months ago, Michael.
Exactly. But the other thing is that oh, I lost my train of thought. But
So
I
yeah,
will say this: it was
yeah,
brilliant. Whatever I was thinking was insanely brilliant.
and we
But I
missed
just
it.
completely
And we missed it.
we missed it. Um,
But yeah, so that's what, like, OpenAI is an interesting, like, could they not IPO? Could they let Anthropic IPO but not IPO?
you
Could
can, but like the part of the problem is that if they don't IPO, like I said, think about the amount of pressure under which they're operating right now because of the recent capital raises that they've done.
Mhm.
So let's say they just changed their mind. Now you have billions of dollars literally like locked up
Yeah.
with no exit. And this is going to change the pricing dynamics in the market forever, because the idea would be if I put $10 billion into, let's just say, Anthropic
Mhm, mhm.
at a $350 billion valuation,
Yeah.
and let's say they go public, they do an IPO at 1.5 trillion.
Mhm. 5x
I've
or more.
made 4 point something times my money.
Mhm.
So now I get my $10 billion back, but I also get another $35 billion or whatever it is. So I'm sitting on like $45 billion
Yeah.
of money that I can now spend.
Mhm.
There's probably some tax implications too, but I'm just doing some simple mathematics, right?
Mhm, mhm,
And I can invest that in other companies
mhm,
if I'm
mhm.
a fund. So I can do some distributions, obviously, right? Because not all that money's mine. If they're on a 2 and 20 model, right, I can take a 2% fee on the money that was invested, and I can take 20% of the profits after probably, some expenses are taken care of. But everybody has way more money. But if it's locked up and there is no IPO, then nobody has any more money. People have way less money than they expected, which changes the dynamics in the investment market as well, right?
And plus also, like, if Anthropic IPOs and not OpenAI, then it's going to make OpenAI life to raise money much harder. Like
Well, that's
it's,
the other point too. So
yeah,
they need this. That's sorry. That was the brilliant point I was going to make.
and I
Is
made
that
it.
if they don't IPO, they're going to need to raise more money.
OpenAI for sure. I mean, they
Well,
need
even
way too much
Anthropic,
money.
just to fund
Yeah.
ongoing operations,
Yep. So if Anthropic
which is going to be
IPOs,
impossible if they don't
yeah.
IPO, right?
So if Anthropic IPOs and then they keep the narrative high and the competition is still slow to arrive,
Mm-mm.
like they may be able to just like keep going, keep going, keep going. So that's fine. But yes, if OpenAI is left out and they don't IPO, I don't see how they are going to be able to do the same thing, right?
They
Like
can't. Yeah, they can't
to
because they need that money. They need that capex actually money
the
so that they can actually develop stuff that they can't do without that money.
and plus the reason why OpenAI is much nicer on the subscription plan, for example, or their API is cheaper than the API at Anthropic, is because OpenAI lose more money than Anthropic, right? So
Right.
which means they subsidize the tokens even more. So which means as a client, their capacity to raise money is very important. We really
So,
need them to
so
keep
do you want to talk?
utilizing.
Do you want to talk about this at all, right? Because, excuse me, if my memory serves me correctly,
Yeah.
Anthropic's policy change was supposed to happen today, June
So
15th. Yeah.
yeah, so a couple of weeks, or actually a month ago, I think exactly, and Flipit was like, okay, we are going to stop letting people who subscribe to the monthly plan, so the pro plan, the max plan that cost up to $200 per month, you won't be able to use agentic, I mean, sorry, yeah, agentic structure, let's say, when you use our plan. So which means you can only use our plans when you go through Cloud Code or through the UI on cloud.com. Okay.
Yeah.
Everything that is called from the terminal, which means that you have a piece of code and at some point you just code an LLM and then it does something for you, but that doesn't go through Cloud Code or from the UI on cloud.com,
Right.
then this is now going to use API Trust. Okay. And obviously, this is what everybody use, right? Like if you have built your own
Mm.
orchestrator, or if you use
Yep.
any orchestrator like Hermes or OpenClaw or whatever, then you use the terminal, like you use Claude through the terminal, and this is what is going now to trust API tokens. The same.
Right.
So this is exactly our case, right? Like we have our own orchestrator, everything
Yep.
goes through the terminal, and then we were enjoying the subscription plan up until now still. But
Maybe,
then
but we don't know. That's the point too,
so
right?
so that's exactly the point, right? That when I saw that, I was like, this is such a bad idea, because on the other side, OpenAI didn't say they are changing the rules. They say, okay, you can still use our plan with your agency coding, with your orchestrator, everything is just going to work like normal. So as a client, first thing I said, okay, one of the services is going to cost 10 times more Anthropic, and OpenAI remain the same. So it's pretty simple. I just go to OpenAI, right? So that's what
Mm.
I've done this weekend. I just restructured our entire AI orchestrator
The
to
team
be
was
able.
insanely busy all weekend,
Oh yeah,
right?
for sure, they were like crazy busy, but they are
Yeah.
really smart. So they successfully did it. So that's great. and so
It's an
and so
entire team of French people. Yeah. I have
yeah,
this right.
exactly.
This
Of
is
course,
why
of
they're so
course,
smart,
of course.
obviously.
That's why they are like, they are
Yeah. It's
brilliant,
not
my
even
girl.
close.
But so that's why, like, that's why we created the infrastructure to be able to welcome OpenAI, right,
Right.
into our AI infrastructure. And I say welcome because I didn't switch from Anthropic to OpenAI, because I still have hope that Anthropic
Right.
actually
Exactly.
cancel their change, because it's such a bad idea that I just hope that they say, actually, guys, never mind, we just stay as is, and I can keep using Claude, right?
Mm.
But
When will you know though? Like, will you
I
know
have no idea.
if you wake up
So
tomorrow?
so that's another thing that has been pretty annoying with Anthropic as of 2 months ago, maybe. They
Mm.
only do their announcement on X. There's no emails, there's nothing else. So if you don't follow Anthropic on X, you have no information. Well, you can also follow AGTP, right? Because we explain to you
We
what's
have all
going
the
on.
information.
You have all the information. But as a client, it's pretty bad. Like, if you don't even send an email about the product that I'm buying from them. So anyway, so that's why I have no idea how I'm gonna know what's changing. I'm checking. It's supposed to be today, but what time today? It's already late in the day, so nothing has happened as of now. So maybe they cancel, and I wish if they do. But like, if they cancel, in a way that would, I mean, either way, like, I understand the two position. First of all, if they cancel and they keep it as is, it's going to avoid a massive backlash, because if they change, everybody's
Mm.
going to move to OpenAI, right? And so, which means OpenAI is going to take a massive leads, at least from the public eye. All right.
Yeah.
It would also mean that Anthropic really goes heavy on the token sale, right? And then they really want to
Mm.
go that route. But we saw in the last couple of weeks that even companies like Microsoft, they said, we stop using Anthropic because we don't want to pay for the token cost. We just want to do the subscription. So Microsoft, Undercover Media, like really large tech companies are actually not willing to do the switch as well to API. So that's bad for them. They should not. They should not. They should not do the change just because of the public opinion. Then on the other hand, maybe they know something that I don't, and that's gonna make them so much more money, right? Maybe,
Maybe.
maybe, but I don't know if the public backlash is worth it, right? In this IPO context, in a way, they want to make more money because then maybe the next step in 1 month to say, hey, now we do $70 billion per year, right? So maybe like it's doing such a big number that it's actually worth it. Or if they want to IPO and they just want guys like us, right, to actually buy the share, invest into the company, they should
Yeah.
definitely not change the pricing plan, right? So that's why I don't know, right? The strategy here, from a client perspective, it's bad to change the pricing. I much rather prefer keeping this price, and I see a world where they cancel. I mean, sorry, they do not leak the cancellation and then they do not cancel the day after.
Right.
That's
Right.
what we don't see. So that's why I didn't completely removed Anthropic, and now it still works on Anthropic. So we still, with
So
nothing
it's still
changes.
happening. Yeah.
It's still happening right now, so no problem. But yeah, I think they may change. So that's why I mean I hope so. But yeah, let's see today. Let's see tomorrow when I wake up. It's gonna be funny, I think.
I want to address one more thing and get your opinion on this as
Tell me
well.
more.
You know, we talked, I think, at the beginning of this segment about how it's unprecedented for a government to step in and say, you can no longer give access to a software product.
Yeah.
Right, which is like kind of out in the ether. You have to restrict access to these people or those people or these countries or those countries or these companies, right? But what does it say about the relationship between AI companies and governments globally? Because was it going to give other governments the ability to? Because again, we talked a lot about data sovereignty. Or if you're going to do this kind of work, you need to do it on data that lives in our country if it's our country related. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is like a
But no
real
one,
thing.
like imagine the French
Yeah.
government saying Mistral can no longer sell its model to people in Singapore.
Yeah.
That would be insane.
But this is, I mean, this is another threat to these models, right? Like, and
That's my point.
because like data sovereignty, it's except in Europe, everywhere else in the world, is really, really important, right? Like really, like every company, every country want to have their data hosted on their, like in their country, and they want to use their own local thing, right? Like, I mean, local softwares, local hardware, like, because once again, they don't want to share critical data with another country. And by critical data, it can be location, it can be, you know, devices that people use, it can be search intent, it can be all of these things, right? So that's why like it's really, really important. And when we went to AI engineer, Michael, I was talking to some people at OpenAI who were like in charge of doing that. So like they were on the policy something, and basically they were talking to the Singaporean government about this problem, right? Like because a lot of people were not willing to use OpenAI because they didn't want their data to go to the US. So that was like one of the blockers to use OpenAI. And so if they were trying to, because OpenAI doesn't want to start a data center in Singapore, because that would be the solution, right? You just run your model from the
locally,
country.
yeah.
But apparently they don't want to do that. So which means they are trying to explain to the company, they're trying to find in between where, let's say you ask the AI something, right? Most of the information that the AI needs stay in the country, and only maybe just a few not critical information actually go to the US. So a way to like split the data, so then we can stay in this idea of data sovereignty globally, right?
Where would you put a data center in Singapore, though?
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean? It's almost like they'd have to reclaim land, which means build another island.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because they're not putting it like on Robinson Road. Like there's not enough space there.
Nope. So that's why like, this idea of data sovereignty is another threat to this big frontier model, right? And I don't know how that's gonna go as well. I think that no one knows. Like this is this is really something that we know where the government they are lost, right? I mean, it's gonna take time to really understand what's going on. Also, it's a big black box. I don't know if you go to OpenAI and you say, hey, Mr. OpenAI, can you tell me exactly what's going on with the data? I don't think you have a straight answer if you're the French government or if you are the Singaporean government, right? Even the US government, I don't know if they have a straight answer as of today, right? So that's why
feels unlikely. Can we talk about this too, though? Yeah. Like in the context of all these changing business models, And the idea, and I don't disagree with you necessarily about the possibility of a company like Anthropic going to zero from a valuation perspective, because at some level the models become commodified, or the tokenization model, the token maxing model kind of goes away. Yeah. But what happens when we get to our second topic, which is AMD, which is taking aim at NVIDIA's AI desktop, when their local AI workstation based on their Ryzen chips and the Halo development platform is sold for like $4,000.
Yeah.
And the idea is like, it's not the box itself is not the most important thing. It's AMD trying to give developers an alternative to all of NVIDIA's desktop stack, first of all. But the second thing is that you can run local AI on that machine.
Yeah.
Up to like, not up to, but like it supports for models up to 200 billion parameters. So all these sort of things are converging, right? In this
Yeah.
idea of, hey, maybe Anthropic can go to zero. Maybe there's a small window for them to IPO. But if they don't IPO, you know, if AMD is coming out with this stuff, and if Nvidia is coming out with this stuff, a full stack machine that can just run, you buy the model once and then you run it locally. So you don't have to pay any tokens for compute costs.
Exactly.
And that if this model is more agile, right? Because again, it's 1/5 the size of some of the big frontier models.
Yeah.
It can take 200 billion parameters as opposed to 1 trillion. But does anybody really need 1 trillion parameters? I don't think so.
This is one of the big answer. This is one of the big question as of now, right? Like this is why
Yeah.
I love that, right? I love that, and it really confirms the point of like it's much more likely that Anthropic and OpenAI goes to zero than the 10x in the next 10 years.
It's
Because
weird. Don't you think it's weird, Martin, that OpenAI said we want to have our own phone,
yeah,
not their own machine,
yeah,
right? Because they want to incentivize people to do
yeah.
the
No, that's true.
tokenization model. Sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Maybe the phone is just the step one, right? Maybe just the step one towards just building hardware, right? Like as a whole, right? But for
Yeah.
sure, like building this type of solution. So first of all, maybe we can explain to the audience like why is it so important? Is because if tomorrow we can have a hardware that's not $20,000, not $50,000, we can actually install a model that could be as good as Opus 4.6, for example, right? Then we can just code locally and then pay zero in terms of subscription. Like for example, because Minimax or Queen or all of these Chinese guys or somebody else, right? That is just right now the Chinese have the lead in terms of open source models, but maybe somebody else will build something great. If tomorrow for $4,000 to $5,000, I think this is the right price point because this is like not too expensive for a lot of people, right? I
Not
think,
too cheap either. It's not like some dumb machine
yes. I think
that's
this
underpowered.
that's
It has
like
128 gigabytes of
yeah,
memory, so it's like
that's
got
good.
some serious memory on it as well.
Yes. So I think this is good. This is like the right price point between $4,000 and $5,000. I think this is great. That's like a big MacBook Pro. That's a Mac Studio, right? Like that's this type of price.
Yep.
So yeah. So now so once again, 128 gigabytes is not strong enough as of now to be able to run something like Opus 4.6. But what's good is the direct functionality, right? Once again, it's another player who put a lot of money into building a machine that is going to be able to run open source model locally on the machine, right? Which means they are going to invest into hardware. They are going to invest into R&D for the machine itself and stuff. And yes, as Els and Joyce say in the chat, thank you very much, by the way, for coming back. We will need the model to be up to date for sure. We will need the model to be not necessarily as good as the frontier. I don't think we need an open source model to be as good as Opus 4.8, but if it's as good as Opus 4.6, if it's as good as the model of 6 months ago, it may be enough. Especially if it's free, right? Like if it's free and you can use it as much as you want, and you just need to buy a $4,000 computer, and then your entire team can use it as well. That's huge. That's absolutely huge, right? So
take a look at the chat, Martin.
Yeah. Yes. Tell me.
Take a look at the chat. So, right, Elzen Joy says there would have to be a subscription for locally run LLMs.
Yeah.
To get updated, like runs locally, like video games, and we need the models to be up to date though there needs to be a financial incentive to be able to do that. The real question is from a coding perspective, right? Like once you download whatever the coding application is that you're going to use for this, right? Whether it's Codex or
Yeah,
Anthropic or even Cursor,
yeah,
you don't have to pay the token cost, which are going to be your biggest cost if you're running that stuff locally.
yep. So I think like what's interesting here, like dude, as Enjoy say, I found Fables 5 was super good for my task. I would hate to wait 6 months to get that ability back. Okay, so let me ask you a question. If tomorrow Fable 5 goes to the API, as they said, right? Like it was planned for
Yeah.
June
If you have to pay for the
20,
API access, yeah.
2022, and then you had to pay $1, $2, $3, $4,000 a month to do your task, don't you want to wait 6 months to actually get it for free on a $5,000 machine, right? Like, would that be good, right? And then yes, for sure, I completely review the subscription is way better, right? This is exactly what we'd love to keep. This is also, I think, what Apple is doing to do, right? Like because they want also to do on-device AI,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it makes ton of sense to just like launch a subscription. Maybe actually, so yeah. So I think what's really cool here is that there's a lot of stuff going on, right? And if some people like AMD, like Apple, like the Chinese open source model, if somebody finds something that works, it will force Anthropic and OpenAI to adjust, right? And then we can see things like, like as you say, like for example, subscription. We can see maybe like Anthropic and OpenAI to launch open source models as well. I think there will be like a lot of possibilities, but they will have to change as well. They will need to adapt if one of those guys
Yeah.
is successful.
And let's be honest, like one of the biggest benefits of running a model locally is that you don't have to pay for every token that
Yeah,
sends it out to a cloud service and uses the compute of one of the big frontier lab models, right?
yeah.
Look, I agree. I would love to pay just a flat rate, which is what I'm paying now.
Yes.
I'm
You
not
can
doing a
keep
lot of
it.
agentic coding, so I'm not doing a lot of that stuff. But to be fair, like I am banging the server a lot,
And on
but
our
it's not that
subscription,
expensive.
Anthropic and OpenAI, they lose money. So it's not expensive for us, but it's expensive for them, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
this is another question, like how much do they subsidize the cost of the token and how fast they will be able to take that down, right? So, and right now, no idea, right?
Yeah. I don't
eh,
think they have any idea at all. We talk about
and
this all the time. I
and
don't think they have
maybe
any idea at
even
all.
themselves they have no idea, right?
No.
So in a context where they don't need to be profitable, that's fine. They can just subsidize as much as they want, but that means that they need to be able to keep raising money, to be able to keep doing that. And I don't know if they start to IPO, like going back to our previous conversation, the fundraising landscape may change a lot, especially if the Chinese model get good, especially if AMD, Nvidia, Apple starts to create competing solutions that work. It's going to change the landscape a lot,
Yeah. So
a lot.
one of the other things that I should mention from an IPO perspective, particularly when companies that are in the same industry or in the same vertical or that are comparable to each other,
Yeah.
there is more if there's dry powder out there, right? Because you only got 20% of your allocation for SpaceX XAI. Well, then your next best bet is to buy through Anthropic or to buy some OpenAI
Exactly. Yeah.
because they're metaphors for each other. So maybe that's what's going to happen is some of the money that's been left over is like, okay, fine, I didn't get access to that. I'm not going to chase that stock anymore, particularly now because it's reaching an all-time high. I just want to see what the where it's trading now. Give me a second. Yeah, now it's it's up. Okay, it's a little bit off its highs, but it's still up almost 10%
It's
today.
huge. It's huge. Wow.
Yeah. But again,
Yeah.
I'm very confident, Martin, that this is the same thing that happened to this stock is what happened to a bunch of other IPO stocks over the last like 25 or 30 years. And that it'll have a good run over the first like bunch of days. And then when that natural buying disappears, it's just going to start to drip and drift slowly lower.
So which means like Anthropic should IPO before that. So which means we need to IPO really soon, really soon.
If they can, yeah, because otherwise it's going to be
Yeah.
problematic because, well, it goes both ways a little bit. Maybe if the price goes lower, more people will want to buy it. But from an IPO perspective, for the company itself and for their investors, the faster the better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would think.
So I think we made the case in this episode, and for those who just join us right now, that Anthropic may IPO really soon, right? Like for all the reasons that we mentioned, for the one who just join us now, we are not going to like redo like the explanation. You can watch the episode after. But yeah, I think this becomes clearer and clearer to me, Michael. I think you agree as well.
I'm just checking. I want to see who's running this roadshow.
So while you do that, Elsenjoy is asking, like, do you guys have an explanation for why AI in space is so interesting to AI CEOs? I don't see the massive value add. When you say AI CEOs, first of all, do you mean Bezos, Musk, like the guy from Virgin as well, who are actually building solutions for AI in space, or do you mean like all the AI CEOs, like Meta, even the one who are not involved into building solutions? We need to have our friend from StarCloud, Michael, on the show. That would be that would be
Yeah.
so
So
interesting.
why are they so interested in this? Well, one is because, first of all, there are less land restrictions.
Mm,
It's easier to cool, like all the sort of restrictions and compromises that they have to make on the ground. They don't have to make in space,
mm,
but they do have to make other compromises, right?
mhm,
Um, but most institutional investors are not going to understand that,
mhm,
which is one of the reasons why SpaceX AI stock is so high.
mhm,
It's because they can't conceptualize like why. They just believe the stuff that comes out of Jensen Huang's mouth and also Elon Musk's mouth.
mhm.
That putting this stuff in space is just going to be way better than having it on the ground. But one, no land costs, right? So think about it. If you want to build a data center, there are costs associated with the construction and all the components that go into building it. But you also have to have the land rights. And if people like, there's no people in space protesting.
Not
That's
yet,
the
not
first
yet,
thing.
not yet.
Not yet, but I mean, no one lives in space right now.
How do you do a strike in space? You just you just take your little rocket and you just go home, like
You just like fly up there, have a couple of placards, and be like anti data center in space. Like I don't know what you do, but
exactly.
the point is that like that doesn't exist yet.
No.
Second of all, cooling stuff is easier in space because the temperatures are just lower by definition. But you run into other problems like maintenance. We talked about this, Martin, right? Like
Mhm.
if something goes wrong in a data center in like, Canton, Ohio or something, you just drive over there and with a bunch of guys with screwdrivers and stuff and you fix it. I mean, I'm obviously simplifying this to make a point.
Yeah.
And I know that SpaceX has the only reusable rockets in the world, but they don't have a ton of them.
Mhm.
And they're not always ready to go. The rocket doesn't come down and then go back up and come down and go back up right away. It's got to have some maintenance and it's got to get fueled and all this other stuff, right? So it's not like, oh, shucks, I left my trainers up on the
Yeah.
space station.
Yeah.
Give me a couple of minutes, honey, and I'll be right back. And while I'm
Yeah.
out, do you want some milk? Like, that's not the way this works, right?
No. No.
So, yeah, I agree. We've talked about this, right? The maintenance is completely hard.
Yeah.
If there's a problem there, like swapping out like just a chip or a machine or whatever, it's going to be really hard.
Mm.
But then the idea is if there's enough stuff going on in space, maybe space itself will be colonized. Part of the idea, at least some of the stuff that I've been reading over the last few days, is that building things as like space manufacturing with less friction is just going to be better. Materials that can get designed and built in space can't get built on Earth because of the way, the atmospheric pressure is and just like the differences of being in space. So all these things are meant to be beneficial, but unproven
Mm.
as well. Right. But again, land costs, water costs, all these things like that, we know what that's going to cost on the ground. But in space, those particular costs should be lower, but there are other risks as well.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm. I think as
yeah.
of today, Starlink is the only solution that works actually. So we have one use case, right? Yeah,
For what? For
SpaceX
making
do
money in space?
for no for a product that just work, right? I have
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
idea he even make money, right? Like maybe it's
Starlink makes
huge,
money.
but is it? Yeah, actually, to SpaceX makes money and that's their only product. So which means like they must be making money.
Yeah.
But compared to
Sorry.
the capex and all of that, like if you include all the costs, does it actually make sense to build it? That's more like
I
what
just
what
don't.
I'm
I
thinking
just
about.
don't think so. I know everyone's
Yeah,
evangelizing for data centers in
yeah.
space.
So that's what I think is like one use case that actually works, right? Starlink. Maybe the next phase, and frankly, thanks to AI, right? Is like we need more. data centers right now. So it feels like the perfect moment to actually say, hey, we can do data centers in space, right? Like I don't think they started working on. I mean, Elon Musk had the vision, right? Like he built all of these things even before ChatGPT. He had much more information. Of course, he was involved, sorry, in OpenAI since day one, right? So he had like much more information than we do,
Yep.
and he also started to build the infrastructure for AI a long time ago, right? Like much before everybody else. So then, yeah, Starlink maybe the first little MVP, right? Like to just like make something work. Because Starlink works really well. Like everybody who use Starlink, every feedback that I get is like, yeah, it's really good. And so now let's do bigger. Let's do data centers. Let's maybe do something else after that, right? So I'd love to speak to someone who's actually building data
But
centers in space.
here's the other thing, Martin. Satellites have been in space for decades,
Yeah, it's been a while, right?
and nobody
Yeah,
ever puts up one satellite.
yeah.
I think they must go up in pairs. Like I can't
Okay.
imagine any other way that this happens. So that if one goes down, there's a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the maintenance in the space elevator that Elson Joy is suggesting is probably not necessary on a regular basis. Plus, satellites have been in space for decades, so
Yeah.
we know how to build them and maintain them in a way that's straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
But no one's put a data center in space.
Maybe it's just a
So
really big
you know what I mean?
satellite.
Does the space? I was explaining to somebody today or yesterday that like when Goldman Sachs moved from Ark Hills to Roppongi Hills,
Mm-hmm.
the trading floor was on the 48th floor of the building.
Okay.
And we could customize the floors any way we wanted. So we put a Starbucks on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have to go down 48 floors to get a cup of coffee.
That's nice.
Well, it was nice, but it was really done so that Goldman could make its employees more efficient as opposed to just being polite and nice to them and giving them easy access to coffee. It was like, we don't want you to leave the office for 15 or 20 minutes to get coffee.
Just go there much
If
faster.
you're not working otherwise, right? So that was the point. But the thing is, like, are the data centers going to have Starbucks in them? Do you know what I mean? Like, how big are they going to be? What are they going to look like? No one's ever put one up there, so we don't know what the maintenance. We don't know anything about it,
Yeah.
and whether there's a space elevator or just a specific rocket that goes up there that can just take people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Really quickly and efficiently to fix stuff. The jury's out as far as I'm concerned. And I know Philip Johnson loves this idea. He's been working on it for a while. I know he's very well funded. I think they recently raised $100 million to do this, but it's just like, I just don't feel like that's going to be a thing.
Let's see. I'd love to have more information, right? We never spoke to someone actually doing it, so we should do that, right? We should have people in the
Yeah, I
space
agree.
sector to actually ask them all of these questions. It really feels like like there's a lot of people who believe in it, and there's a lot of people who absolutely don't believe in it, right? Like
But
there's like two big
yeah,
teams.
it's not that I don't believe in it. It's just that there's part of me that doesn't think it's necessary. And here's the other thing too, Martin. We went to 2 gigantic AI conferences in Asia over the last month and a half, month and a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
One in May, we went to AI Engineer. So it's very engineering focused, very like sort of we're going to create stuff out of nothing focused. And then we went to Super AI, which was this sort of conglomeration of people throughout the stack, the AI stack.
Yeah.
There wasn't one company there, Martin, that was building AI data centers in space,
No one.
but not one.
Even data centers themselves, like we talked to the chip maker, right, to Cerebras and to
Yeah, we talked to
ARM, right,
Service, we talked to ARM, we talked to a bunch of them, right?
which was really interesting. It
Super
was
cool.
super cool. We need to get them on the show regularly as well because they will define like how we can use AI tomorrow. They are the guys who actually build the hardware, right?
Exactly.
So really cool. But yeah, no, data centers, power as well, data centers in space. Nobody just showing what's possible, right? And yeah, no, it's true. So let's see. But yeah, I would say let's invite people who do space stuff and let's ask them all the question. Let's ask people who believe in it and people who don't believe in it. So we have like the two side of the argument.
Yeah, I mean, Philip, look, you're more than welcome to come on AGTP anytime you want to
Yep.
talk about like why this is so relevant. You've obviously spent a ton of time working on it. If you and Elon Musk want to come on to AGTP and tell us why this is so relevant and so important to build these things in space,
Yeah.
we can surmise on our own.
Yep.
But you've done more work on it. You have more information than we do. So come on the show and let us and let our viewers and let our listeners know why this is so necessary, but also why it's actually going to be possible.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like there is no, like as of today, with the information we have about space, even if it's a thing, okay, like even if we put that data centers and all of that, it's not going to fundamentally change shortly how we use AI, right? Like, I feel like even if it works tomorrow and we put a data center in space and we are served, cloud from space, okay, but like what's changed for me, right, as a user, right? Maybe the cost, maybe that's pretty much it. So that's why, like, as of today, maybe it's going to give you more compute, more capacity, right? But this type of solution, for example, when you talk about AMD, we build a computer to actually be able to run model locally. This is way more transformational for how we use AI moving forward. Like this AI V2 that I always talk about, right? Like this is a direct threat to Anthropic and to OpenAI because AI v2 could be local. The AI
Yeah.
v2 could be vertical. AI v2 could be something completely different than what we are doing right now. And the space data centers are not ready yet, right? Maybe that's AI v5 or v6, right? Like maybe it's
Yeah.
like much further down the line. But as of now, everything we see in, like, everybody who's creating new solutions to actually create this AI v2, yeah, there's a lot of things going on, and all of these things are direct threats to Anthropic and OpenAI. Direct threats.
I don't disagree. Okay. Should we leave it there, Martin?
Yeah, we said a lot of things today. I think this is a great episode.
No, super interesting episode.
Does anybody else has any other questions? We can spend a bit of time maybe to answer like a couple more questions.
Happy to answer anybody's question or at least give an idea about what we think is actually right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Maybe let's just wait like a couple of minute or two just to make sure we are not leaving the audience alone, Michael. But yeah, no, it's great. Once again, thank you very much for the back and forth. It's always really nice to exchange ideas. And feel free to let us know also what you guys think in the chats. Always, always interesting to see. And exchange ideas and brainstorm about what's going on and how our usage of AI is going to change.
Exactly.
Okay, I don't think we have more questions, Michael. So let's come back
Okay.
tomorrow.
Let's run this thing down. That is it for AGTP Daily today. Thank everybody again for joining us. The questions and the back and forth, as Martin said, are highly welcome. Give us a thumbs up on today's video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and subscribe everywhere. So follow us on all of our socials, on X, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. And again, leave comments and leave questions there too. We'll try to get to those as fast as we possibly can. And let us know in the comments if there's anything else you would like us to discuss from our upcoming shows. We will be back. Today's Monday. It is Monday, Martin.
It's Monday.
So we'll be back on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Martin, as always, thank you so much for doing this. My name is Michael Waits. Goodbye for now. See you tomorrow.
Just before we go, if you have some time to listen to the first part of the show where we talk about Anthropic possible IPO, I would love to have your point of view to the audience. I would love
Yes,
to,
for sure.
like, if you have some time before tomorrow to listen to it, and then let us know tomorrow, or let us know in the comment what's your take on that, because I think this is going to be a really hot topic in the coming weeks. So
Agreed.
So that's gonna be interesting. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and merci beaucoup indeed. We start
Merci.
at 11 a.m. Eastern time, indeed. Yes.
Yes, we start at 11 a.m. Yes, we do.
Yep. Thank you for joining us again. See you tomorrow.
Thank
you very
you.
much.